Okay, let's get started. So now the first section of the study guide is the organization setup. In order for you to have an organization to set up, we need to get you signed up for a free developer environment for Salesforce. And to do that, you go to developer.salesforce.com/signup in your browser and fill out this form. And so on this form, there's sections for entering your first name, last name, email address, the role that you play, and you can select either developer, architect, administrator, IT manager, business manager, etc. We're going to leave that defaulted to developer, although this is an administrator course. And so don't get hung up with this being a developer environment. This is a free Salesforce environment that you can use for life and keep for life. There's no catch. The reason that Salesforce makes these available is because they actively are recruiting for and trying to get more developers on the platform and more administrators on the platform, and they understand that the way for people to learn their platform is to give them a free license. And so this free developer environment comes with 2 user licenses and then some additional licenses as well. This is not intended for production use, but for educational purposes. So once you know how to use the platform, you can then get a job and utilize your skills on a full-blown Salesforce instance. So for now, this is an environment that you can then work through the different exercises in this course and then begin to develop some apps of your own. So you fill in then the company name, your country, your postal code, and then really the thing that I want to highlight is this username field. Now this field needs to be in the form of an email address. It can be a different email address than what is in this email. And so this first email field is where Salesforce will email to for you to confirm your new Salesforce environment that we're signing up for here. Now, it's fine to go ahead and put the same email address here. The only caveat is if you already have a Salesforce account tied to your main primary email address, you need to specify something different for the username. So you may want to append, like if you have a Gmail address, for instance, and it's your name at gmail.com, you may want to append .study or .udemy or .whatever. And so, for example, what I'm saying is if your old account was your name at gmail.com, you can put a dot and then something else at the end of this. And so for sake of an example, I've got your name at gmail.com.demo. Now that's not a valid email address and you can't send email to there, but how Salesforce will be communicating with you is through this email address here. And so then this will be your username that you log in with. So bear in mind that you only need to add something additional on the end if your current email address is already used on an existing Salesforce account. I don't recommend that you go through this course using an existing Salesforce account, but start with one that's new, and that way you can work through the exercises and not have any potential conflicts. And so if you don't have a Salesforce account already, then just simply enter in your email address, check that you've read the agreement, and click Sign Me Up. So then once you have signed up, you should receive an email notification real quickly from Salesforce, and you simply click through that, and I will show that next as far as when you first click through what that looks like. So once you've submitted the form, you see this screen that appears that says that we're almost there. Please check your email to confirm your account. So next you'll want to check the email address that you specified in that email field on the previous form. Okay, so now I've checked my email, and here is the email that appears. The subject line will be your developer edition login information. And this is coming from Salesforce developers to the email address that you previously specified. It fills in your name here based on what you entered on the form. It says, welcome to your developer edition. Your username is below. And that would be the username that you log in with, which may be different than the email that you specified that you're receiving this email on. So you click on this link to log in. So now once you click through on the link from your email, it takes you to the change your password screen. It shows that the password must have at least 8 characters in length, have 1 letter and 1 number. And so you enter in your password here. Then you retype it to confirm the password. Then you answer a security question and click change your password. So now once you've changed your password, you're now logged into your new Salesforce account. And your first thing that you should see is a greeting showing welcome to the improved setup. We're going to go ahead and click no thanks here. So we just dismissed the tour of the interface because we'll be going through the interface thoroughly as we go through this entire course. And so as you see, you have your name here at the top right on the drop down, and then a setup menu, a help, and a Force.com application menu, also called an app menu. And so we'll be going through each of these things in the interface as we go throughout the course. And I just wanted to highlight a few things quickly. If you click on your name, you'll see links to your profile, your settings, the developer console, and here's where you would log out of your Salesforce instance. The setup menu is simply the screen that you default on when you first log in as in a Salesforce developer account, and the setup are these items here along the left-hand side. So most of the things in this course will be found under the Administer section on the sidebar here, and then as you scroll down, you'll see sections around Build and Customize and Create and Develop, and then Deployment Settings, Deployment Status, some monitoring things, some jobs, and some logs. There's literally probably hundreds of items here. If you expand all of these and look at everything, you see that there's a lot to take in. And so don't worry about learning everything that you find here on the left-hand side, because it's more than anyone can possibly learn, especially in the span of one course. And so that's why we've narrowed down the focus of this course to just handle the administrative side of things. And so I just wanted to show you how large the platform is and how much there's out there, so that you see that you can definitely, as you progress, find your specialty and your niche and then work from there. And so still scrolling, as you can see, hundreds of things. So you might be wondering, how will I possibly learn where to find a certain menu item? And that's definitely a problem, and it is helpful to know in the setup menu where to find things, but it's not realistic to be able to find exactly what you're looking for by just browsing. And so they have made the setup sidebar searchable, and it's a dynamic search. So for instance, one of the first things we're going to be getting into pretty soon in this course are profiles. And so if you wanted to find the profiles section, you just start to type here in the setup search, and as you type, you notice that the results narrow based on what you've typed. And so here I've typed profiles on the left, and then it shows here's the link for managing user profiles, for instance. So if you click on that, I'll just show this real quick. This is where you administer the various profiles. So other things that you'll be dealing with a lot as an administrator are managing user settings. And so if I type in users, under manage users, you see the users link. And so I wanted to highlight as well, when you first sign up for your developer account, there's a few basic kind of dummy accounts that have been set up in addition to the one that you signed up for. This is my account here, and it shows last login time and my profile, and then I'm active. And there's a few other accounts that have been set up for integration and security and Chatter Expert. Some of those are beyond the scope of this course, so I don't want you to get hung up on or worry about that so much. And so the main things with just the user interface in general are the sidebar links in the setup, and then the dynamic search feature so that you can narrow down your search results. And then as well at the top here, the various links, how to get to setup, how to access help, and how to log out, and that sort of thing. And then as well, this application menu, there's certain applications that are installed by default in your Salesforce developer account. There's a call center application, there's marketing application, there's app launcher, community, site.com, Salesforce Chatter, content. And then we get into some other things like the App Exchange, Developer Community, and Success Community. Those are just some quick links to outside resources, such as like the App Exchange. Much later in this course, I have a lecture on the App Exchange and what that is. And basically, that's the App Store for Salesforce applications. And so then what I want to highlight as well, as this relates to the first section of the study guide and the organization setup, has to do with the global user interface. Now you notice that all of this is in English, and so I wanted to click through to my own user account to show how you can set your locale and your language preferences, and also to give you a glimpse at a user account. So if I click through on my name, So now I'm on my user account, and so at the very top here are links to what are known as related lists in Salesforce terminology. And so I'm on a detail record for a user, and that user is myself, Mike Wheeler. And then the next thing you see are these hoverable links which will take you to the various related lists that if you were to scroll down, you would see them down below. And so I've got, for instance, one of these is populated with my login history. It shows the IP that I logged in from and the application that I used and the login URL and the time and all that. So if I were to click on that, that takes me down to where that displays on the screen. So these are related lists related to my user record. And every standard and custom object in Salesforce has other objects or records that are associated with it, and those will appear or can be customized as well as related lists. And so what I wanted to show, though, as it relates to the organization setup, is if we go in and edit my user record, I can come in here and add additional license types, for instance. If you notice, I'm active and I'm a marketing user, I'm an offline user. I'm going to add that I'm also a knowledge user because we have a module related to Salesforce knowledge. I also want to be a Force.com flow user. That's where I can use Force.com flows. That's some automation functionality that's very useful and helpful. Some of these Site.com contributor and publisher and Work.com user I'm not going to set for now because that's really outside the scope of this course. And then beyond that, Data.com user type is another license type to where you can actually pull in and confirm the latest contact details for contacts at a company, for instance, or if a company moves and they change their address. Data.com is a Salesforce solution that helps keep your contact and account records clean, if you will. And so you may see some terminology around the term cleaning data or clean, like various buttons on layouts, and that has to do with Data.com. And so then some of these other things are more developer related, like sending Apex warning emails. You don't need to worry about checking that, but you can if you have an interest in development. You can also check development mode. That as well is more on the development side of things, and that I'll go into more with my developer course that I'm currently developing. And so there's a lot of settings here, but what I really want to highlight are some of the locale settings, and this is where you can specify your time zone, and you can specify your locale. I'm going to keep mine the default of English, United States. Next, I want to specify my language. So if I were to go in and change my language to Spanish, for instance, and click Save, then the user interface has changed to Spanish. If you notice, all these related list links are now in Spanish. The buttons are in Spanish. There's Nuevo instead of New, for instance. And then as well, these tabs along the top are now in Spanish. Now I'm going to edit my user record back to English and speak a little bit about the tabs along the top. So I'm setting this back to English for my language, clicking Save, and now my tabs across the top are back in English. And so really the only remaining thing to go over in the user interface are these tabs across the top, and these represent different objects on the platform. And then if you were to click on one of these tabs, you can then access individual records that fall under that object. So for instance, if you click on accounts, you can access any accounts that are in your Salesforce instance. And so this is a brand new Salesforce developer account that I just signed up for. And so it may confuse you or throw you that there's 12 accounts in here, and it'll be the same for you. These are just generic accounts that have been entered by default by Salesforce to give you some data to work with. And it's very helpful as well to have some dummy data, basically to work with different types of customers, for instance. And these are not valid phone numbers and different states and provinces and that sort of thing. And so if I were to click on contacts, you see as well you can select from a list view here, like all contacts, birthdays this month, et cetera, et cetera. These are just default list views that have been entered. And so I like to always just see all contacts or all accounts. And these list views, a list view is something that's common across all objects. When you click on a tab in Salesforce, you have access to various list views. And so you can sort these as well. These are just some common functionality that you can do in Salesforce. And then also another neat thing, and this really goes beyond the scope of this particular lecture, but there's a lot you can do with list views, some mass actions. So if you wanted to mass edit all of these records, I've selected all 12, you can go in and change one. Let's just say account site would be off-site. I'm just picking something at random. And then I want to update all 12 of these account records to have an account site that reads off-site. So I'm going to select the all 12 selected records radio button and click Save. And then it will go in and save all 12 of those records and update them in mass. And so you see the power real quickly as far as what you can do with list views, another very helpful feature. And so these are the primary pieces and functionality around the global user interface and organization setup as it relates to the first section of the study guide on the admin certification exam. And so things that are usually covered have to do with the various tabs which we showed across here, as well as how to change the user interface to be in a different language, and that's set on the user record as we showed previously. And then as well, other things that are important to know and understand is that this is your application menu, and if you were to switch to a different application, then different tabs appear across the top here. And all an application is in Salesforce terms are a series of tabs, and from there you can do certain things. And so this sales application has things related to sales such as accounts, contacts, and opportunities. And then marketing will have more marketing specific things such as leads, contacts, campaigns, and opportunities, and then reports and dashboards, that sort of thing. So we'll be going into the various standard and custom objects as well as reports and dashboards later in the course. But as far as we're concerned for the organization setup, you now have your own Salesforce account and you've now successfully logged in. And so if you haven't been following along, I recommend that you do just that as far as signing up for your own account, getting signed in, and starting to click around and become familiar with the various applications available through the drop down, as well as the various tabs across the top, and especially the setup area by clicking setup and then the quick search as well.